So at the moment on YouTube, all these videos have all blown up about, oh, it's taken me 30 years to realize this, and I'm going to tell you in the next 10 minutes, or whatever it is. Or it's taken me 50 years to realize this, and I'm going to tell you in the next 8 minutes, or whatever it is. These videos are all blowing up right now all over YouTube. Now, I actually have my version of that video myself. Before I go any further, I'm Aussie Tobes, a bold Australian interior designer. If you like the content, hit the notification bell, like, subscribe, comment below. My version of those videos is basically your plans can change and pretty much at the 11th hour. And it's pretty interesting, good and bad, interesting. So for example, I recently completed qualification in business. It was a master's degree, and I was going to use that to help me with expanding my interior design business and to actually make it into a bigger, like a firm, and be all over Australia. And at the 11th hour, I pulled the pin. Getting business was not the drama. There is plenty of business out there for everybody. I realized at the last minute, my true success was my family. And when I mean my family, I'm talking about my immediate family in terms of my wife, our 2 kids, and our 2 dogs. That was the most important thing to me. And yeah, had I gone further with my business to expand it interstate and outside of this country city that I'm in at the moment, and I would have had to have had a bigger physical presence in other parts of Australia, which would have meant I would not be at home as much to be a dad and to be a husband and also be like the home protector and security guard and whatnot. So I just thought, nah, I have to pull up stumps on this one. It's just something I cannot go through, which surprised me in a way. And is all that study and money towards study wasted? No, it's not. There's lots of valuable transferable skills that I've actually got from that I've put into other things. And so nothing's been a waste. I just think I value my family more than anything else on this planet. Like I'm talking about just the tangible. And I'm very grateful for that. I'll give you another example of how your plans change. And these are like big plans as well. When I was getting out of the Air Force in 2012, prior to getting out, my wife and I had bought a 1/4 acre of land up in southeast Queensland on the Sunshine Coast, beautiful part of the world. And it was a beautiful block and the view was incredible, and we were going to build our dream house there and move up there, etc., etc. Then we started having babies and we ended up staying here in country New South Wales. So we ended up selling that block of land because we just didn't see ourselves getting up there. And it was a bit of a opportunity cost. Do you move up there and sell what you've got, sell your house down here, or do you try and keep your house down here and build a new house up there? There were lots of different things to consider. At the time, I actually didn't have any regrets selling the block of land. And then about 4 years later, I was just dealing with some type of PTSD, and staying here in country New South Wales was very, very triggering. And then there were this sort of back and forth of arguing between us, like, do you stay, do you move? We should have kept the land, we shouldn't have sold it, blah, blah, blah. But then I look at my son and I think, oh, hang on, no. Selling the land was a good idea because we couldn't afford to put our son in childcare. Well, no, we could put our son in childcare and keep the land, but it would be very, very tight. And we just went, nah, it's not worth it. That's why we sold the land. So I look at my son and I go, nah, I'm glad I chose my son over a block of land. But this is the thing, you're going to have these moments with your life, and it's such a struggle sometimes. And you sometimes look back on things and go, oh my gosh. And when all these people say no regrets, that's crap. When people say to you, no regrets, I think they're lying through their teeth. You might say no regrets at the time, but then hindsight is a good thing as well. And you look back and you go, oh, maybe we could have done this. I think no regrets in terms of getting to where you are now. So if you've had the learning and then where you are now, I think no regrets is fine because you've actually had the learning and it's like, okay, I've learned it. Now there's no regrets. But yeah, things were pretty full on back then and it is what it is. But your plans are going to change. Another one, our kids were at one particular school here in this country city and we pulled them out of that school because the school board we didn't think was very good. I could go into some massive details about that, but I won't. And we had our reasons and I'm glad we took our kids out, but our plan was to try and keep our kids in that school. It was a K to 12, but you know, our plans changed. We just had to go, all right, whatever, we're going to move our kids out of this. And do I have regrets about that? It did go through my mind for a little bit because when they were in the transition stage of actually being at the new school, both of them were struggling, and watching our kids struggle a little bit was struggling in itself. And then that opens up the trauma box. Woohoo! PTSD, everyone. But they found their footing in the end. With all of this, I think, it sounds so corny. What do the people say? Life is a journey, not a destination. You hear that all the time. And some of these videos, everyone's going, oh, the journey is the destination, like this. But they're absolutely right. That's just how life works. And it's okay that it happens. It's interesting. You think at the time, this is terrible, or my life is going down the plug hole. But in fact, in hindsight, you actually go, you know what? I'm really glad that such and such happened and I'm on the other end here. So for example, with the land, we recently had some cyclones in southeast Queensland and lo and behold, where our land was, it got flooded. So we dodged a massive bullet there. So that's one thing. Looking at the business, I get to spend more time as a dad and a husband and be with my family than I would if I chose the big business option. And it's very interesting because a lot of the guys I went to high school with are like highly, highly successful, motivated entrepreneurs, CEOs, managing directors, all the above, you know, earning like massive money, like millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so rightly so, they deserve that success because they've worked so hard for it, and good for them. Like I'm like the cheerleader on the side going, good on you boys. You've done a really, really good job. But I would say maybe half of them fall into this category of, at least half of them anyway, fall into this category of like, you know, they're up to their second or third divorce. They have kids all over the place. They don't get to see. They don't get to see their families at all because they're working so hard. And I always say to the feminists, I say, are you sure you want to be a CEO or in charge of this or in charge of that or senior management or whatever it is? I'm like, are you sure? Like, go ahead. Like, don't see your family, FYI. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. So that's my 5 cents on that. Anyway, be bold, be inspired, and be Aussie Tobes. And I'll see you in the next video.